Elise had always been a woman ruled by pragmatism. An economist for a major firm, she'd bought her one-bedroom condo with a mortgage years before even considering marriage, and her savings account was a sacrosanct buffer against life's unpredictability. At 34, she met Adrian. He was a delivery driver, but seemed decent enough, didn't drink heavily, wasn't a chain smoker, and was 5 years younger. What could possibly be the harm? Their wedding was a modest affair, without excessive frills. Adrian moved into the apartment Elise was already 3 years into paying off. In the beginning, the rhythm of their life together felt manageable. He worked for a logistics company, bringing in a modest salary, around $1,500 a month, but Elise didn't press the issue. They never sat down for formal budget talks. It was an unspoken agreement that they'd both chip in for shared expenses. The fissures began to show about 2 months after the honeymoon glow had faded. Adrian came home one evening with a storm cloud settled over his features and announced he was quitting. "The boss over there has turned into a real animal," he declared, kicking off his sneakers by the door. "Screams at everyone, changes the routes weekly. My head's pounding constantly from the stress." Elise nodded sympathetically. She understood that jobs dealing with the public could be grueling, especially under management that lacked basic human decency. "All right, take a little time to decompress," she said, her voice soft. "You'll find something better." But time stretched on, and Adrian made no real move to find work. Or rather, he performed a convincing pantomime of searching. He'd scroll through job listings on his phone, but whenever Elise forwarded him a concrete, viable opportunity, he'd wince and wave it away. "That's not for me. The pay is insulting, and the hours at this one are all wrong." Elise didn't push. Her own job was consuming, often requiring late nights and projects brought home, leaving little energy for domestic confrontations. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, the full weight settled onto her shoulders. Adrian remained a silent, passive presence, never offering to shoulder even a sliver of the burden. A month into his unemployment, his mother, Gloria, entered the picture with increasing frequency. Living in a nearby suburb, she began to visit under various pretexts: a pot of soup, just dropping by for tea. Sometimes she'd even stay over, claiming she'd missed the last bus. She was a woman who believed help was best delivered, unasked for, and on her own terms. Her help was a quiet colonization. She'd rewash dishes already cleaned, reorganize the refrigerator according to her own cryptic system, shift picture frames on the shelves by imperceptible, maddening degrees. And the advice flowed constantly. "Sweetheart, you should buy a different brand of pasta," Gloria would muse, rummaging through the kitchen cabinets. "This kind never cooks right. And this bread is so dry. Adrian and I have always preferred the sourdough from that bakery downtown." Adrian, through all this, would be planted on the couch, scrolling through endless streams of videos, offering his mother an occasional grunt of agreement. The job search remained a low priority. Yet, mysteriously, funds for gym memberships or a new pack of cigarettes always materialized, from Elise's account, naturally. Elise tried to tune it out. Her workload had intensified. Her firm had secured a major contract, putting her in charge of several complex projects. She'd drag herself home late, only to face household chores and the duo in her living room dissecting neighborhood gossip or the latest outrage peddled by the talking heads on cable news. Then, in early summer, something peculiar happened. Reviewing her bank statement, Elise spotted unfamiliar charges: a $300 payment to a day spa, a $500 transaction at a boutique children's store, a scattering of smaller deductions for shampoos, creams, cosmetics. "Adrian, do you have any idea what these charges are?" she asked, holding out her phone. He glanced at the screen and shrugged, a masterclass in nonchalance. "No clue. Must be some kind of bank error." But the errors persisted. Nearly every day, small sums bled from Elise's account: a hair salon, a clothing retailer, a pharmacy. She began to watch the transactions like a hawk, and the pattern soon crystallized into a cold, hard truth. Gloria's visits became a daily occurrence, and she no longer came alone. She brought Adrian's sister, Chloe, a new mother who spoke in a constant sighing refrain about the crushing cost of diapers and formula. "Adrian, you wouldn't let your sister struggle, would you?" Gloria would coo to her son. "Chloe's at her wit's end. You know her husband can't hold on to a dime." Adrian would nod and then vanish. Within hours, Elise's phone would buzz with alerts: children's clothes, toys, nursing supplies, all funded by the account attached to her debit card. The final veil dropped one evening when Elise came home unexpectedly early. The scene in her kitchen was starkly illuminating. Gloria was on the phone, speaking loudly to a friend while admiring a new jar of luxury hand cream. "Oh no, Rita, this cream isn't expensive at all. Only $40, and the results are divine. Elise doesn't mind. Why shouldn't a mother treat herself?" Adrian sat beside her, sipping tea and scrolling, utterly unperturbed by the casual plunder of his wife's finances. A hot rush of blood flooded Elise's cheeks. The realization was a physical blow. She wasn't just being taken for granted, she was being played for a fool. Her card was their communal treasury, and she hadn't even been granted the courtesy of a consultation. "Gloria, we need to talk," Elise said, her voice dangerously calm as she stepped into the kitchen. His mother looked up, a mask of mild surprise sliding into place. "Of course, dear. Is something wrong?" "You could say that. I've been noticing some very strange activity on my bank account. Spa days, children's stores, high-end cosmetics. Who exactly is all this little stuff for?" Gloria rose, gathering shopping bags with a rustle of defensive entitlement. "There's no need to get hysterical. We're relatives. And the baby things are for Chloe. She's in a real bind." "And the spa visit? Was that for Chloe's bind, too?" "Well, a woman has to maintain her appearance," she retorted, flustered. Elise took a deep, steadying breath. The reservoir of her patience was bone dry. Working herself to exhaustion to bankroll her unemployed husband and the shopping whims of his family had crossed the line from imposition into outright exploitation. "Listen to me," Elise said, lowering herself into a chair as if anchoring herself to the spot. "Tomorrow morning, I am going to the bank. I'm closing this account and opening a new one. The old card will be dead. No one spends my money but me from now on." "What are you talking about?" Adrian finally engaged, confusion twisting his features. "I'm talking about separate finances, effective immediately. You spend what you earn, I spend what I earn." He shot up from his chair, the legs screeching in protest against the floor. "Since when do we have separate finances?" he yelled, his face flushing a deep crimson. "We're married." Gloria was hastily packing her belongings, performing a pantomime of offended detachment, though she lingered, hungry for the drama. "Married, you say?" Elise stood, folding her arms across her chest, a barrier. "Where was this husband when the bills needed paying? Where was he when I was covering the mortgage, the utilities, filling this refrigerator?" I've been looking for work," Adrian stammered, off balance from her direct assault. "Looking? On your phone? At the gym? Or when you were buying cigarettes with my money?" "Elise, don't shout at him," Gloria interjected. "It's a difficult market for a man to find suitable work. And the money, what's the big deal? We're all one family." Elise turned on her so swiftly that Gloria instinctively took a step back. "One family?" Elise's voice dropped to a low, icy register that was far more terrifying than any shout. "A family means everyone contributes, not one person working while the others spend. A family asks permission before treating someone else's wallet as their own." "We weren't stealing," Gloria protested, indignation puffing her up. "Adrian gave his permission." "Adrian?" Elise slowly pivoted back to her husband. "Adrian gave permission to spend my money?"
Adrian shifted his weight from foot to foot, silent. His expression was a masterpiece of shame and rising anger. "I thought," he began and then trailed off. "You thought what? That I'd be the patron saint for your entire clan? That it's perfectly normal to live off your wife and still have the audacity to make demands?" "You watch your tone," Adrian exploded. "This isn't how normal people live. Normal couples share everything." "Normal couples share the work," Elise fired back. "What do we share? I bring in over $2,000 a month. You've brought in zero for half a year. And on top of that, you greenlight your mother and sister to go on shopping sprees with my earnings?" Gloria snatched her purse and made for the hallway. "I will not stand here and be insulted. Adrian, we're leaving. You're not appreciated here." "That sounds perfect," Elise said, her calm unnerving. "Go, and don't come back without an invitation." "Elise!" Adrian slammed his fist on the table. "You've lost your mind. She's my mother." "Your mother? Your sister? Your problem," Elise stated, her voice eerily level, while a volcano of rage erupted silently within her. "If you want to support them, get a job. Starting tomorrow, new card, new passwords. You want spending money? Earn it." Adrian stormed out of the kitchen. The front door slammed with such force the windows rattled in their frames. Gloria shot a venomous look at her daughter-in-law and scurried after him. "You think we can manage without you?" His voice echoed from the stairwell. "There are people out there who know what gratitude means."
Suddenly, the apartment was silent. Elise sat back down at the table, dropped her head into her hands, and felt it, a profound, shocking relief. It was as if a colossal, invisible weight she'd been carrying for months had simply evaporated. Speaking of weight being lifted, if you're finding this story resonating, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. It truly helps the channel grow. And hey, I'm curious, what would you have done in Elise's shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Adrian didn't return the next day. Instead, a lengthy text from Gloria arrived, accusing Elise of being materialistic and heartless, of violating sacred family bonds, and of deeply wounding her son with her disrespect for his elders. Elise read it once, deleted it, and did not reply. Her day was one of deliberate, empowering action. She went to the bank, terminated the old account, and established a new, fortified one. She changed every online banking password, canceled any automated payments she hadn't set up herself, and even visited the building manager to change the entry code to her floor. Gloria's days of unimpeded access were over. Back home, Elise conducted a purging ritual. She returned photographs to their rightful places, discarded the spare slippers Gloria had left, and even threw out the jars of homemade jam left in the fridge, a sweet, toxic reminder. The following days were marked by a profound, unfamiliar peace. No alerts for unauthorized manicures, no rearranged furniture. The silence, after months of low-grade emotional siege, felt like a luxury. Work became easier. Focus came more readily when home was a sanctuary, not a battlefield. She even left the office earlier, drawn to the calm of her own space. Her first full paycheck after the confrontation was hers alone. She bought the overpriced down pillows she'd always wanted. She attended the theater, purchasing a single ticket without having to negotiate or compromise. At a cafe, she ordered the salmon salad Adrian had always deemed an absurd extravagance. A week later, Adrian called. His voice was a careful blend of contrition and wounded pride. "Elise, come on. Are we really going to act like kids? Let's make up. I talked to Mom. It won't happen again." "What, specifically, won't happen again?" "You know, the spending without checking. It wasn't malicious." "Adrian, do you plan on getting a job? Ever?" The silence on the line stretched, thin and telling. "I'm looking," he finally said, the phrase hollow from overuse. "I see. Let's talk when you find it." She ended the call. He didn't call back. Another week brought a guilt-laden message from Chloe, the sister. It spoke of Adrian's suffering, of Elise destroying a marriage over mere money, and how a simple conversation would have sufficed instead of a nuclear meltdown.
Elise didn't dignify it with a response. She didn't block their numbers. Letting their messages accumulate, unread, felt like its own form of closure. A month slipped by, and Elise realized with a jolt that she didn't miss him. Evenings were for books that had long gathered dust on her shelf. Weekends were for museum exhibits and laughter with friends she'd neglected. The money that had once seeped away to subsidize other lives now funded her own renewal. By the end of the second month, her path was clear. She filed for divorce. There was little to dispute. The condo was hers from before the marriage, the furnishings mostly hers. Adrian was entitled to the television, but he never came to collect it. The divorce was a quiet, administrative affair. Adrian didn't show up to the final hearing, but had signed the necessary papers. The clerk placed the final stamp in her passport on a bright August afternoon. Elise walked out of the courthouse and sat on a bench in the adjacent square. She pulled out her phone, opened the banking app. The balance showed nearly her full salary, untouched, waiting for her direction alone. A slow smile spread across her face. The card was in her hand, and hers alone. The apartment was in her name, and hers alone. Her salary, her time, her decisions, her sovereignty was restored. Elise stood up and walked home. To her home, where no one shifted her photographs or spent her money. Where the future was a blank page she could fill on her own terms. That night, she ordered the expensive sushi platter Adrian had always called a foolish indulgence. She put on her favorite film, wrapped herself in a soft blanket, and sank into the couch. Her phone blinked with a few missed calls from an unknown number, but she felt no compulsion to answer. Her life was rebuilding itself, slowly, deliberately, and most importantly, it was once again completely and utterly her own. Disclaimer: all events and characters depicted in this story are fictional and created for narrative purposes.